Okay, so we're doing a Tailchop in a Ducati Monster S2R1000. I got past all the unbolting and unhooking the wires. So what you want to do first is you want to unhook the brake light wires and the turn signal wires, so when you take the fender off, you don't yank it out. So once you have all that unplugged, you go to the top and you unbolt the brake light from the back. Two bolts, pulls off just like that. And then there's 4 bolts underneath the fender. Unbolt those, pulls right up. As you can see, we disconnected all the wires, so nothing gets pulled. Now, there's a lot of ways to chop the frame. The way I like to do it is with a pair of pipe cutters. These are available at any kind of hardware store. These are from Ace Hardware. They're $5.99. The reason I like using these, it doesn't scratch the paint. It cuts a perfectly straight line, and it cuts it even. One thing to keep in mind is when you're chopping the frame, you always want to start on the right side. Reason being, on the right side of the frame you have the seat lock, and what happens is when you put the tool on there, you want to get it as close as you possibly can to that lock. Because if you put it on this side and you move it all the way to here, when you go to this side, it's going to be off center. So you don't want an angle, you want it to go straight across. That's what we set on this side. So once you have it lined up, and you want to try and get it as close as you possibly can to the seat lock, make sure it freely moves. Go around once, tighten it down, and then you just go around and around. It's a little bit more time consuming than using a Sawzall or a hand saw or any other kind of saw, but it definitely looks better at the end. Okay, so we got one side of the frame cut, and it's approximately 6 1/4 inches. So what we want to do is get the exact same measurement on the other side so it's perfectly even. So what you want to do is line up the cutting wheel at 6 1/4, just like so. This is going to give you a perfectly straight line, and when you cap off the frame, it'll be straight. Alright, so there it is. After about 20 minutes or so, we cut through both pipes, pieces of tubing. Nice clean cuts, no damage to the paint. The other thing I like about cutting it with a pipe cutter is that it flares the inside of the tubing inward. So when you put the cap in it, it actually holds it a lot better. Less likely of it coming out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a bracket for the tail light and reconnect all the wires, and we should be done. Okay, so now we're going to make a bracket that's going to mount to the back of the bike to mount the brake light. We have a piece of mild steel. You can get anywhere, any kind of hardware store, home or Home Depot. What we did is we lined up the 2 studs coming out of the brake light, and we're going to put them through, hold it tight, and then we're going to mark it so we know where to cut it. Cut it all the way through the bottom. Now what you got to remember is on the back of the brake light you have the plugs, so we're going to make room on the back of the bracket so we can plug them back in. So we're going to do that is we're going to line up the bottom of the hole, or the bottom of the light, like so, and then we're going to draw a little square approximately the size of the contacts, and then we're going to cut that out, and then extending from the bottom of this, you can probably go down about 2.5 inches. This is the part we're going to fabricate. Drill 2 holes here that we're going to mount to the frame. Okay, so we have our general shape of our bracket. This is obviously pretty rough, so we're going to have to clean it up. But I cut that little piece out there, and the reason I did that is, if you notice, the wires coming out of the top of the bike for the blinkers and the brakes comes between the frame and that piece of plastic. So when we slide this in, we're going to need to make room for that wire. So I cut a little piece out right there. And in order to clean it up, I like to use an air grinder. We just take out the sharp edges so it doesn't cut anything, shape it up. We're going to sand it down a little bit and paint it, and then we'll be ready to install. We have our semi-finished bracket. We went ahead and finished out the cuts for the wires. We finished out the cut for the wire coming out from under the bike. Now these two holes are the mounting holes for that mount onto the bike. These two holes are very important to get the light straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mock it up. This way we can get it perfectly centered. There's no sense in doing all this if it's going to look crooked. So we do a quick mock up before we paint the bracket. Like so. So there's two mounting points, two holes where the bracket is going to mount to, and those two holes are right here. These two hold up this plastic piece, kind of like a fender. We're going to use these two mounting points for the light. So we're going to put our seat back down, just like that. And then we're going to take our light, and I like to put it between the plastic and the metal, and gently slide it in, like that. And see, it's perfectly straight. It's straight this way, and it's straight along with the seat. What I like to do is line it up flush with the back of the seat cowl. That way it looks like it's a one-piece unit. Once you have it lined up, you take the cowl off or the seat off, and you hold it very gently, and you take a marker and you put it through the hole, and you mark your two holes. And you pull it out, drill your holes, and then when you put it back in there and you put the bolts in from the bottom, it should sit perfectly straight. Alright, so here's our finished bracket. Just a rattle can spray paint so it doesn't rust. I bolted the brake light on. In this particular kit, this is a Clear Alternatives LED integrated brake light and turn signal assembly. Basically, all it is it eliminates the turn signals. It's just a LED kit, very simple to install. You run the two signal wires and you reattach those. Very simple. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run the wires like so. Put our bolts in. And like I said, you want to run it through the plastic. Now before you tighten it down, make sure that the signal wires are not pinching. That's when we cut that little hole. Take your wrench. And we tighten it down. Alright, so that's pretty much it. And then the wires just get reconnected like they were stock. We eliminate the license plate light because the brake light lens has a it's clear underneath it, so the light will shine through onto the license plate. So we could just pretty much take the bulb out or snip the wires, whatever. Reconnect the turn signal wires. There's no ground needed in this particular kit, so we're just going to connect the power wire to each side and then reconnect the brake light assembly exactly the way it came off. So we're going to do that in a minute, but make sure put the seat on first, make sure it's level and even. There it is. Perfectly straight, perfectly even. And this gentleman that owns this motorcycle is an airline pilot. You know how anal those guys are, so I want to make sure it's perfectly straight. And from the way I'm looking at it, it is. So I hope he'll be happy with that.